Excellent. So now we have our ammo, our firearm, and our shooting range all set up. And we'll head down to our daily variables. From here, if we have internet access, we can go ahead and click the blue arrow to download our results and see the current conditions. We can choose Celsius or Fahrenheit down here, and we can click Apply to apply these settings to our daily variables. If you're somewhere where you don't have internet access, or perhaps you're on an iPod Touch and it's not retrieving your location data, you can enter this data manually just by clicking in each box and entering the data that you like. One thing to mention in here is that oftentimes wind angle may not be correct, as you're likely not facing the same direction as the weather station. So we can go ahead and click the little blue arrow next to wind angle, and this gives us some quick instructions on how to use this screen. We're just going to aim at the target, and with our phone pointed that direction, we can go ahead and choose which direction the wind is coming from. Alright, now we've got everything set up the way we want it. We can go ahead and compute. Here we see our output screen. We'll go over this quickly. You'll notice that we have increments of 10 yards as we set in our step size. And if we scroll down, we can see it goes all the way out, right down to 2,000 yards, just as we've asked. And we'll scroll back up here and talk about some of this data. Alright, so the first column here we have is range. And this is simply just the distances at which we're outputting this data for. The next column we have is path, and this is the physical path of the bullet as it rises and falls on its way out to the target. You'll notice that at 300 yards we have our 0, and so our path and our elevation is at 0. Before that, the bullet is a little bit high, and after our 0 it starts to fall. The next column we have here is elevation, and this is the amount of adjustment we need to enter on our scope on the elevation setting in order to hit our target. So at 300 yards we have to make no adjustment. At 200 yards we'd have to dial down 2 minutes of angle, and if we go up to 400 yards we would have to dial up 2.5 minutes of angle. Our next column, wind drift, again is the actual amount of inches that the bullet has been blown off course by the wind that we've entered. The next column, windage, is the amount of adjustment you'd need to enter on your scope on the windage setting in order to compensate. At 300 yards it looks like we're at just about 2 minutes of angle. At 310 we're just over 2 minutes of angle. The second last column we have is energy, and again it's just simply the amount of energy the bullet is carrying at each distance. And then lastly we have the time, and this is how long it takes the bullet to, or projectile I guess, to get to each distance. If we scroll right down to 2,000 yards, we can see we're just over 4.5 seconds to get all the way out to 2,000 yards. Something else we can mention about this screen is we can click on the path and velocity buttons up here to have a look at a graph of our actual bullet flight and the velocity compared to energy as well. The last thing to mention is back on the Results tab here. Each one of these rows is clickable. So, for example, we have our gun set up to 0 at 300 yards. If we were going to make, let's say, a 730-yard shot, we could go ahead and just click on that row. And that will bring us up to the Details screen. And from here we get some larger, quick and easy information to access. Up at the top we get our info. We're at 730 yards and just about a second to the target. On the left hand side we have our windage adjustment. On the bottom middle we have our elevation adjustment required. We also have the path of the bullet. We're approximately 100 inches low at this moment. And then on the right side, we have the speed of the actual target. If your target is not moving, of course this would be 0. But if you have a running target or a moving target, we can go ahead and adjust the slider at the bottom, and you'll notice the lead speed is changing there. And we can go ahead and just click on the lead area to reset this to 0. We can click on the button in the bottom left corner to cycle through the different units. So we have 13 minutes of angle elevation required. That is 3.8 mils, or 52.3 clicks with our current setup of quarter-minute clicks. Again, we've got some graphs up at the top here, and we can see our specific moment in time on that plot, both in the path and the velocity and energy. And that's the basics of iSnipe. We'll get into a few of the other features and some of the more advanced unit settings in videos to come. Hope you learned something. See you next time.